Hi, I'm Dan Hanford, founder of the Multifamily Investor Nation and managing partner with PassiveInvesting.com. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this session, which was originally recorded from the Multifamily Investor Nation Summit from January 2020. We had over 1,000 attendees and over 40 speakers, and I know you're going to enjoy this session. I want you to also take a moment to go check out the next summit that's coming up. We do them twice a year, once in January and once in June. You can go to MFINsummit.com to find out more information about the next summit that's coming up. I also want to encourage you to check out our premium edition of our Multifamily Investor Nation group. You can go to MFINpremium.com and start your free trial today. I also want to encourage you to go to multifamilyinvestornation.com and find out other ways that you can follow us and learn more about investing in multifamily real estate across the United States. Thank you again for watching, and now you can sit back and enjoy this session.
You need to have partners that are going to, support you, and it can be a tricky situation to find the right partners, to work with them, and to get the deal structured properly. So this really is a very important topic. And so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me. I know Melissa spoke a little bit about some of my background, but I'll just go in a little bit more depth on it. So I started in 2011 wholesaling D-class properties in the south side of Chicago. At first I had a guy that was just basically, buying stuff, and then we would sell it for him. And then I started, he's buying like 2 and 3 flats. I would start wholesaling those other properties, find investors, and then link them and put the deal under contract and do a double closing or whatever. And so I quickly realized that wasn't the business I wanted to be in long term. So I started doing it with a friend who had already owned 150 houses, and it was fairly interesting to me. So I was like, all right, I was kind of getting my fix on real estate at that time, and I was understanding the business, and so between 2011 and 2013, I was more just like learning the business. And I actually went and I worked for a guy that had 1,000 apartments for about 6 months to understand what he was doing. And then we realized that between my buddy and I that we had enough resources to be able to start our own company in 2013. So that's what we did. We started a company in 2013. We left that like job essentially we were at. We had a guy give us, an old guy that he had been working with, give us $1 million to get started in the bank. And then we went on to, start buying like more portfolios of properties. And so we started out buying like single family homes and 2 flats and 3 flats and stuff like that. And then quickly realized that we could buy maybe like a 50 unit. And so we started buying a 50 unit. Then we bought a 70 unit. Then we went and bought 120 unit. And then we bought our first 380 unit deal. And then after that, we just started buying more and more, and scaled it in 3 years up to about 3,400 apartments. We found an equity source that was pretty much unlimited to us. It was kind of another syndicator. We partnered with that person, and then we just scaled the business up to 3,400 apartments. So that was pretty incredible. And then we actually decided when we got into this to self-manage the stuff. So we got burned by a couple of property managers, and we're like, you know what? We're just going to self-manage it. We don't really know how to do that, but we're just going to figure it out. And so that's exactly what we did. We started the management company, and then every asset that we picked up, we hired our own payroll, and we figured out the systems around the management company, and we just managed everything ourselves. And so that was a really big learning experience for me while we're building the management company. In addition, a lot of people haven't really done that I've run into, and there's really big advantages doing that if you're able to do it. But we hired about 250 employees at one time and ended up keeping around 130 of them. And I was in charge of a lot of that process as well. So then everything was going fantastic. I was like, oh, that's amazing. I'm set for life, basically. We got 3,400 apartments. We got a management company. I'm the partner. There was myself and 2 other partners, and I own the second most of the company of the 3 partners. And then we had my one friend, my best friend, my business partner, my mentor, he owned the majority of the company. And so all of a sudden things started going crazy, and we started getting in a lot of fights, and whatever happened, whatever. I ended up going through a huge business divorce. All of a sudden, my best friend, lights out, stopped talking to him, lawyers, everything got real crazy, and went through this big business divorce over an 8-month period. So that was like rocked my world. I was like, oh man, now what? Type of thing. And so, so that's why this topic's really important to me, because if I can help anyone structure this properly, they can avoid a similar path that I went down. It was one of the best things that happened to me now, with my new situation, but at the time it was really, really tough. So I ended up reaching out to Nighthawk Equity. Some of you guys know them. It's Michael Blanc and Drew Niffin and those guys. And so I was like, hey guys, maybe we could do something. And I started, reach out to them more and more, and just gave it really a big effort. And then we ended up joining forces with them in 2019. We had a big deal that we were pursuing, and ended up not happening. And then we consecutively closed 218 unit in August, and then another 276 unit B-class deal at the end of December. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now with the new partnership. But getting out of that old partnership mentality and like just finding a new one and even wanting a partner again was really tough for me. To come to grips with the fact that I had to partner to really do what I wanted. That was a challenging situation just to get over mentally. And so it is really important that you set this up properly. So yeah, we purchased 500 units in 6 months with the new partnership, and things are going great. So I'm going to go into, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to go into some of the positives of partnering and why it's important to consider it. There are a lot of them. You're going to gain additional expertise of people that you're working with. So that will be that'll be very important, because sometimes you don't know everything, and you need somebody to lean on to gain that additional expertise. Maybe you have your side that they have their side they know. Another big part of it is net worth and liquidity for loans. And that's super important, because that's what you need. Like if you're getting let's say a $10 million loan, somebody has to have a minimum of 10% liquidity for that loan. And then they typically have a net worth of $10 million. And so if you don't have that, then you're going to need to partner with someone that does, or a couple of people that do, to get you over that hump to be able to get the loan for the deal that you want to do. So then you have other operational strengths that are positives. If you partner with somebody that's really strong operationally, and you don't really know all the nuances of the apartment complex that you're pursuing, or just in general, you want to find someone that does. That's really helpful. Then you have a lot of strength in that department. You can rely on those people to help you run the asset. They're also going to help you with risk capital costs. So that's going to be really cool, because essentially the risk capital you put in could be a large amount of money. So if you're going into a situation where let's say you have to put up $100,000 worth of earnest money. Well, if you don't have that, you need someone that's going to be able to help you with that. You can actually shave off a piece of the general partnership in return for help with the risk capital costs that go into a deal. So, maybe that person comes up with half, or maybe they come up with all of it. You're going to be able to make them a partner to come up with that money, and then it allows you to get into the deal. Also equity, so you can have equity partners. So the down payment money, any other costs that come with closing, acquisition fees, stuff like that. That all you have to find that equity somewhere. So you're gonna need partners on that level. And we raise a lot of money from smaller partners to do that. So that's another type of partnering that's positive to have. Typically, when I've worked with partners, I'm like motivated on a different level, because I want to perform, and I want to, make sure that I'm contributing enough to the partnership. So it is actually additionally motivating. Resource sharing, that's a good one. Contacts, your partner may have contacts that you may not have, and vice versa. You guys can share that stuff, which is fantastic. And then you can go further faster. You just can. That's just a fact. So you can go, you can't buy a 300-unit apartment complex if you've never done it with no partner. You need a track record. You need all that stuff. And if you're trying to go big, you're going to be able to do that a lot quicker with a partner. So another part of that, buying larger assets. Every person that's buying larger assets, and most everyone has partners. You're going to have a deep friendship as well. So the deep friendship is going to, that really is helpful, because it's like you're working with your friend every single day, and it's a lot of fun. And so I've had a lot of fun working with partners that become friends, or vice versa. And you guys talk about the same thing all the time. You become obsessed with the business, and that's really powerful when you're trying to build something big. Part of that is more enjoyable work experience. Same thing. You guys are on the phone every day doing things. It's a lot of fun. Some of the negatives of partnering. So I've experienced these firsthand. And this is if it goes sideways. You guys may have disagreements that you have to work through. That can happen, and you got to just figure out how to work around those and just kind of find a common ground consistently. Anytime money gets involved, there's a level of greed. And this is something that you got to be wary of, who you're really partnering with, because if they're all about money and that's it, and there's nothing else that's important to them, it could be a red flag. Because once the money gets too big, they may not want you anymore. They may just care about that more than they care about the partnership and about you. So you have to watch out for that. Business divorce. That's what happened to me. Very similar thing. It's just like a regular divorce, but more financials involved, and really can be really messy. Very, it can really bring you down. Relationship maintenance, ongoing relationship maintenance can be a negative. Legal battles. All this stuff happens, and it's happened to a lot of people out there. Depression, that's a side effect of all these other things happening. So, I've listed out these negatives, but there really are a lot more positives to partnering than there are negatives. As you can see, these things all happen. They can happen to anyone at any time, but that shouldn't stop you from partnering, because this is how you do the business effectively and how you get further faster. So we're going to go over what you should look for in a partner. So you want strengths that are going to offset yours. That's going to be important. If you guys are both doing the same thing, you're only going to do it for so long, and you're going to be fighting each other. And you really need someone that has strengths that offset your strengths, so that you guys can move in the right direction. And so, for example, Michael, he's a platform builder, and he's really good at that. I am the acquisitions guy, so I'm really good at that. He doesn't really do much with the acquisitions until it's his time to step in and be that face. We offset each other. I'm not building a platform. He's the one that's building the platform. So us together, we can do really big things. Should look for some kind of a personal connection. You got to spend a lot of time with these people. You're spending, hours and hours a day with talking to them, months. If you don't like them, it's gonna really be tough. So you should have some kind of a personal connection with them. They should have a strong work ethic. This is it's unset. If they're not working hard and you're working hard, it's going to cause some friction, unless they're a type of partner they're just there to put money in, and you guys have arranged that, and that's not their role. But if you're working as an active partner with someone, you want to make sure that they have that happening as well. Financial literacy. So that's going to be important as well. If they're really bad with finances, you guys are doing this to make money a lot of times and do other things, but they should have some kind of financial literacy. I think that's important. You can look for experience in a partner. So somebody that's already been there, done that you can lean on. A lot of the things that you guys are going to find is that, your experiences create, you into a stronger person. You're going to have a lot of the things that you trigger you to, oh, I did that before. Oh, I can give advice on this because I found that XYZ happened when I did this. And so if you have someone that has that experience, it's really going to be valuable. A track record. So anytime you're buying a property, you typically are going to need to show a track record. Like, hey, this is what I've done already, especially in this type of market. The market right now is it's so tight. If you don't have a strong track record, you're not going to win those deals. And so partnering with someone that has a track record is going to be important. So this is what you should avoid in a partner. And what you should avoid is someone that only cares about money. That's going to be a problem if it continues. Because then once the money gets too big, they're not going to care about you as much. And so that's going to be a challenge. Someone with a really large ego, they can't see past their ego. Sometimes you find people like that, but they care more about the show than they do the actual business. That's going to be a problem. A my way or the highway attitude. Partnership is about coming together and really helping each other. And if you have somebody that says a my way, this is it, it's how I say it or not, that's not going to work in the long term. If they're a bad communicator, a partnership is all about communication. You have to have the communication there, or else it's not going to work. Lack of experience. If they know nothing about the business and you just partnering with them because they're your friend, it's not a good idea unless they have something else to give you to make up for that. It's not going to work. Lack of financial literacy. I already said that. Complacency. So if they're always doing something else or whatever, this kind of goes along the lines with being a hard worker, but that's something you should avoid. Laziness, another thing. If they don't work very hard, you're going to drive you nuts and you're going to start to get hard feelings towards them. Someone with similar strengths role as you, we mentioned that before, why you don't want that. So here are the questions you want to ask yourself. And these are very important. What are your individual strengths? So what are you able to contribute? What do you individually have inside of you that makes you unique and special to any kind of a partnership relationship? So like for myself, I've kind of put these out that I know that I have insane work ethic. I know that I'm willing to learn and willing to adjust and pivot in a marketplace that maybe demands something different. I know that I'm a really good communicator, stuff like this. You just need maybe make a list of all the things that you're really good at that you could bring to a partnership, so you know where you stand. So the next one is, what can you bring to the partnership? And this is going to be super important because if you don't know what you can bring, it's not going to work. You can't just, like so many people, they go and they're like, oh, we should just partner because we like each other and this and that. But you need to ask questions like, what do you need in this partnership? What are you lacking? Oh, you're lacking inventory. Maybe you can't find deals. Okay, got it. Well, I'm good at finding deals, so this might be a good fit. Oh, you need money. Okay, I got plenty of money. I could be a partner in that level. So you need to ask yourself these questions. What do my potential partners need in their business specifically? So that's just going a little bit deeper and just understanding, like asking all those right questions to get to what they need potentially in their business, and then understanding if you can actually provide that or not. Do I see myself working with these people for 3 to 7 years or more? And this is really important because most partnerships last 3 to 7 years. That's just what it is. And if you don't see yourself working with these people for 3 to 7 years or more, that's a tough question to ask, but you want to put yourself in the shoes like, oh, I just want to do a one-off deal with these guys or whatever, but I don't really see myself being with them much longer. It's probably not the right fit for you. Ideally, you guys work together forever, but realistically, this is kind of what it is. So multifamily acquisitions in general are one big puzzle. And this is, if you think about it, you have to know the pieces of the puzzle And you have to partner with the right people, the right puzzle pieces to make this big picture happen. Okay, this is just how it is. So there's really 5 buckets that you need to find for an effective partnership to do a multifamily deal. So you need someone that's going to be your deal finder or in charge of acquisitions. So this person is going to be sourcing your deals, meeting with brokers. Once they find the deal, they're going to put an LOI in, and they're going to try to win the deal. Then they're going to, once they negotiate the contract, then they're going to, once it goes under contract, they're the one that's in charge of getting it across the finish line. You know, what does that look like for the deal? Who's going to be doing that role? There's the risk capital contributor. So that's somebody that's putting up the earnest money, the due diligence costs. You know, there's costs that with if you're getting, you know, your property inspection done, going to the property to check it out, maybe even your contract or whatever, that there is somebody that has to fund that. And especially if it's a larger multifamily, those costs can get up to $500,000. So who's that going to be, and who's going to be your partner in that? Then there's the loan guarantor. So that we talked about that earlier, but it's going to be somebody that has, you know, minimum typically of 10% liquidity and a net worth of the size of the loan. So if it's $10 million, that person's worth $10 million and they have $1 million in the bank. Now this can be multiple people as well, but that's somebody that you need for the loan guarantor. Then you need equity partners. So who's putting up the down payment money, you know, who's putting up the closing costs money and all that stuff. This person typically, or these people will typically replace the risk capital contributor. That risk capital contributor will get all their money back for the earnest money, all that stuff with the equity when it closes, but you need that equity to close the deal. And then I put in asset management because nobody really talks about this. It's really sexy to talk about buying a deal, but what happens after it closes? Now, there's different ways to structure the asset management situation, but overall, you want somebody that knows the business that's going to be able to help in this respect. And I think it's super important to have the deal do what you said it was going to do, right? That's going to be very important. Potential partnership matrix. Okay, so this is the same thing that I just brought up, and this is what it looks like, essentially. Okay, so your deal finder acquisitions person. Now you can structure this in any way you like, but it could be like this. So deal finder acquisitions, 20%, risk capital contributor, 15%, loan guarantor, 10%, equity, 30%, asset management, 25%. So by equity, I mean the person that's bringing equity. The actual equity partners typically gets anywhere from 70 to 80% of the overall total deal. But maybe the person that brings it in, you give them a cut of this as long as they're involved in the general partnership significantly after you guys close. But maybe this is how you structure it. You can make these buckets whatever you want, but you need to allocate a specific amount to these. And then that's how the partnership gets laid out. And so maybe these go together, and maybe there's like a combination of both. So maybe you have like one person is the risk capital contributor and the deal finder, or maybe someone's a loan guarantor and the risk capital contributor, or maybe someone does. You can put them together however you like. It doesn't matter, but you still got to cover all 5 of these buckets to some degree. That's going to be important. So here's the steps to getting in a partnership. Step 1, so you're going to identify potential partners. How do you do that? Well, you go to events. So when I was out of my last partnership, I was like, all right, I don't know anyone. I literally started over. Okay, I was like, I'm going to go to 2 events, multifamily events, every month for the next year. I'm going to go online, I'm going to do whatever, but I'm going to go to these events and meet people at these events, and you can become friendly with them. and figure out what they need and maybe partner with them on a deal. Chat online with people, Facebook. There's a lot of multifamily people on Facebook. I don't know, for some reason, that's like the platform that everybody hangs out on in our industry. So you could chat online with people, ask them about what they need, figure out if you can contribute to what they need online. Set up calls. This is a really good way to just hash everything out on one call, understand kind of where the partner's needs are, become friendly with them, feel them out, see if you like what they have to say. Do your research on the partner. Make sure they haven't done anything shady in the past. Ask people about them, figure out, who these people are. Build a friendship first. I think that's a good idea, a good way to go about it. So if you can build a friendship with someone, then it's really easy to partner with that person later. Now, you don't have to be friends with the partner. It could just be the right fit or somebody that offsets your strengths. But if you are able to build that friendship, it makes it a lot more fun when you guys get into it. Okay, so step 2 is you want to find out what they need. What could help their business? This is just done through a series of questions that you ask them when you get them on the phone, when you go to a meetup, when you talk to them, whatever it is. What are you working on now? What is your biggest issue in your business? Why have you not been able to scale it? Or what is helping you scale it? Do you need any money? Do you need, what's your biggest hang up? If you can find out and isolate what their biggest hang up is right now, and then add value in that way, figure out a way to add value in that way, that's going to be super important. Ask them what locations they target. Maybe you're looking in the same area as they are. What levels of risk would I be expected to take on? So this is important. People don't think about this all the time, but there's risk in any business, in any venture, in any investment. And what I mean by levels of risk you would be expected to take on is, are you going to be signing on the loan? Because there's a level of risk with that. If you're signing on the loan, and even if it's a non-recourse loan, if something happens illegal or something is fraudulently done, all that non-recourse goes away, and you could be on the hook, and then it becomes fully recourse on the deal. And if something goes sideways, you could lose all of everything that you own because they're going to come after you personally. That is a level of risk. Putting money in the deal as a risk capital contributor, that's a level of risk that you take on because your money is now in the deal. And if things go sideways, you could lose all of it or whatever you put in. So you need to understand, if they come to you and they're like, yeah, we need a loan guarantor and a risk capital person. And you're like, well, I could do that, no problem. I got all that stuff. I'm good to go. But the deal is bad, and you're in a real interesting situation because maybe you didn't check the deal out well enough. You didn't really believe in it or whatever. It goes south. You have all the risk. Now you're the signer, and you have your equity as a risk capital contributor. Plus the equity partners have their money in. So what maybe they want you to put in LP money, whatever that is. You got to understand your risk tolerance. So I always try to think like, what's the worst case scenario? If everything went sideways and south, what's happening to me? And then this is just another iteration of what I said above, but it's just, what are they lacking in their business? Go into more specifics there. So step 3 is going to be figure out what you have to offer them. So find out what are your individual strengths. This is something we mentioned before, but once you know that, what can you bring to the partnership? Are you a money raiser, the balance sheet guarantor, the risk capital contributor, the deal finder, or are you an asset management? Which one of those buckets do you fall in? Be very crystal clear on that. Understand your weaknesses. So where are you not good at things? I think it's important to know that because you don't want to act like you're something that you're not. If you're like, listen, I just hate accounting, I'm not good at that. Well, and they're expecting you to keep track of financials. Don't just get into the partnership because you want to be in a partnership. You're weak at that point. And you can be transparent with people about that. Once you get to know them a little bit, you can tell them, like, listen, this is not my strong point. If you guys need that, I'm not going to be able to provide that to the partnership. The transparency and the honesty is super important when you're getting into stuff, because, you know, that's just that you want to build a foundation on honesty and transparency. The honesty and transparency is what's going to make the partnership last longer. If you're hiding things or you don't want to share your weaknesses or anything like that, you know, you don't have to come out and go nuts and just, you know, scare them right away. But at the right time, you know, you can always bring it up. Will you be able to bring lasting value to the relationship? You know, if you're new, starting out, it's understandable, but it's like, okay, at a certain point, how far are you going to be able to take this, and what's that worth? Is it a one-off, or is it something you're able to bring lasting value to that relationship? Now, it's maybe you don't know all the way, and that's fine, but it's a good thing to think about. And then again, what risk are you willing to take on? We just mentioned that in the last slide. You got to understand, what are you willing to settle for, and what are you really just not at all? You need to know that line in the sand. Listen, I'm not able to put up any money, or listen, I'm able to put up half the money, or whatever it is. You know what you're willing to take on. Step 4, you're going to negotiate the splits. So you can bring this, you know, once you find out and dissect what's lacking in their business, and you guys decide to be in a partnership, okay, well, you know, you get what you negotiate. That's really what it's about. You know, if there's a situation and, you know, you want to be in this partnership, and they're like, listen, you're going to come up, you're going to find a deal for us. We're going to give you, you know, this percentage and whatever. And you're like, what? That's not really worth my time. Or maybe it is, because you just want to get into your first deal, so you're willing to settle for that. Everybody needs something. And to the level that they need something is how much you may get in the partnership. They really need a loan guarantor. That's going to be more valuable in those buckets, and it's probably worth more. So you can negotiate more. If they really need a deal, you can negotiate more. If they don't, it'll be worth less. So no typical industry split numbers is a part of this. I think this is important just so you kind of have an understanding of how things get paid out, and this could change. But again, it's just based on the needs of the partnership. Now, you need to know that the LP equity is probably going to be somewhere between 65% to the LP investors, all the way down to about 80% or not. You know, that's typical industry splits on there. So when things are getting underwritten, if you're going into a deal and you're underwriting to the investors and it's like 50-50, it's probably going to be off the typical industry. So it's going to be tougher to find investors in that respect. You know, just sign on a loan, everybody makes it different, but if they're offering like 2%, you know, your partners or that's what's coming out with, you kind of need to know, all right, that's not right. And so that just goes along with the buckets that were up in that other slide to kind of know that around what the things are getting paid on. Use that partnership matrix that I set up. So those 5 buckets, you want to make sure you map that out and use that when you approach your partners or your potential partners and come up with the negotiating. So weigh it in your favor just based on your skill set. Do whatever you can to be like, listen, this is what I bring. And this is how, you know, I'm going to do it. And this is why I think it's worth X, Y, Z. Again, this is up to you to negotiate and to prove why you are a really good partner and why you're worth what you are worth. Now, if you don't have a lot of experience, again, and you're trying to just get in your first deal, you might not have a lot of leverage to negotiate a lot. You may just want to get your foot in the door, get a deal done, and now you're more valuable in the next situation or the next deal that you guys find in that way. Now, if you have a lot of experience, you should weigh in on that stuff and be like, listen, this is what I have to offer you, and this is how we work things out. Share that with your partners, and just arrive at a fair number. You know, don't negotiate down to the last penny. I think David Meltzer, a mentor of mine, mentioned that. But arrive at like a fair number that you guys agree on it, and then move forward. And I said, no, do not be afraid to take less in the beginning to prove your worth. I mean, this is all about for some of you guys, it's all about just getting your first deal, getting your foot in the door. So my business partner, Michael, he has this thing, he says the law of the first deal. When you get your first deal done, the others will follow in rapid succession. And that is true. You know, once you get the first one is typically really hard to get done. You know, it's your first deal. And then, you know, after you get that done, all of a sudden you're like, oh, let's do another one. Let's do another one. So sometimes you may even take less just to get your foot in the door and get one done. Step 5, this is huge. I think working on a contractual basis is the best way to go. Where you're not like setting yourself up to be like, all right, we're longtime partners forever. Just get one deal, work together on one opportunity. And that's going to be really helpful in the whole partnership process, because listen, you could commit to one deal. If it's 60 days, can we do one deal together and see how it goes? And if it goes great, then you do another one. If it doesn't go great, you guys just part ways. So like when I partnered with Nighthawk, I was like, listen, let's just do a deal. And I worked so hard, put so much time and really showcased my skills from my past partnership on that one deal that I couldn't be ignored. You know, when you work with somebody and they just crush everything, or they're putting in so much effort, I mean, if you're that person, it's going to be tough for those people to go work with anyone else after they've seen what you've done. So you want to be that person. Bring them what they need. So they're going to need, if it's deals, money, underwriting, bring it to them and do it fast. Do it, communicate well on it. Really use this opportunity to wow that other partner. You have an opportunity now. You have a chance to do this, to get your foot in the door, and you really want to perform. So put a lot of effort into it. See how you guys work together, feel it out, see how the communication goes, see how the friendship goes, understand that whole picture. You're just doing one deal. If it goes well, scale it further. You know, this is the best way to get a long-term partnership, is just start with one and see how it works. Here's a good way to attract partners. So add value without being asked. And this is great. You don't try to figure out what they need and just bring it. Don't always ask, oh, what do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do next? You're not an employee, you're a partner. Figure it out. Take the extra time, do the research. Be helpful. Think of things that they wouldn't normally think of, and then really wow them. You can bring them gifts or cards if they're like above you and you really respect them and you want to partner with them really bad. You know, you just bring them gifts and they're like, wow, or send them a card, like a handwritten card. That works. People can win you over by doing that. Maybe you send them once a month on a card and you're like, hey, just want to say I'm really, really impressed with what you've done. You know, blah, 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 and be really nice about it. Send helpful informational articles. Be in touch with them in that way. Send them an email. Hey, just thought you might want to check this out. I remember our conversation about this. You know, here's an article that you might find helpful. Prove your worth in advance. So if you're really friendly with these people, you meet them, you sending them stuff, you're being proactive, and you're proving your worth in advance, it's going to be that much easier to partner with people. Go out of your way to be helpful. So this is going to be really, you know, again, in line with all this stuff, any way that you can impress them. Make thoughtful suggestions. Hey, you know, I came across this might be helpful for you. You know, just come up with stuff. Build a deep relationship or friendship in advance if you can. If you get to that point, again, it's that much easier to go into business with your friends. And some people say, don't go into business with your friends. Well, yeah, don't go into business with your friends if they have nothing to offer in a partnership. If you're just friends with them and they've never done multifamily before, they're probably not going to be a good partner. But if they're in the multifamily industry, you guys become great friends first. It's a good idea. Get into business together. Why not? That's how mine got started, and I don't regret it. All right, keys to a long-lasting partnership. Great communication. I mean, this is hands down probably the most important rule, is great communication. You guys have to be able to communicate consistently. Find that method of communication, whether it's email. We use WhatsApp for ours, so we all communicate on WhatsApp. We can make video, audio messages. That's how we communicate all the time. And it just gets the point across so you don't have to call each other. You figure out how you communicate best and use that. I'll always operate with honesty. I mean, that's just a given. Integrity, that goes so much further than being sneaky and doing other stuff. Dedication, you have to show that you're dedicated. That's going to be very important to a partnership. They have to see that you want this to happen and giving it everything. And if they're not giving it everything, then you're the better partner. Mutual respect. So respect is so important in general. You guys have to have a mutual respect for each other, or else it's not going to work. Doing things to advance the cause without being asked. So this goes along with what I mentioned before, but you want to do things without being asked. Just go out of your way to go hunt that deal, do the research, find the money, whatever it is, do it without them asking you to do it. Loyalty to the partnership. Don't go jumping across doing this over here and that over here, or create a sense of loyalty between you guys. This is the number one thing that destroys partnerships, and when this happens, it's very, very tough to reverse. Lack of respect. It boils down to everything. I was thinking about this and I'm like, what is like the number one thing that went wrong? Is we stopped respecting each other. The respect went out the window, and then it's very tough to reverse that for whatever reason. If this happens, it's if you don't respect that person, or let's say there's somebody in the partnership, it's a couple people, you don't respect one of them, all of a sudden that's going to turn into a really toxic situation. And that just comes along with the value that you guys add. If you guys don't get along, I wouldn't even touch it. A partnership is like a marriage, very much so, and you gotta like the people that you're working with. So these are some ways that you can protect yourself in a partnership. This is pretty important. So you want to have a rock solid company or operating agreement that dictates who does what the roles are, what you're expected to do. You want to make sure that this is there and in place, because it will dictate how much you own, what you contributed, a lot of those things. It needs to be rock solid. And so the way that you make sure it's rock solid is you need your own legal counsel. Everybody should have their own legal counsel. Even if there's a common counsel that helps you get deals across the finish line, or the real estate counsel, you need to have your own just in your back corner in case things go sideways, in case you need to review your operating agreement. All that stuff should be reviewed by your own legal counsel. You need an exit plan. I just started out like trusting and this is it. You have an exit plan. You put the operating agreement in place, not for the good stuff. It's for when things go sideways, if they ever do. And if you have a clear, defined exit plan if they do go sideways, how things are getting bought out, who's getting what. If that's in place, it makes it that much easier to follow, to get out when you have a disagreement. So setting up the exit plan in advance, I think, is a very important part of this. Right from the beginning, if you guys have a good exit plan, listen, if we hate each other at the end of the day, what are we doing about that? And you can work through it with legal counsel, whatever. You need to have that. A network of other like-minded individuals. So if things do go south, it's good to have a network. Your relational capital is very important. And then maybe you could go do something with them after if you're in a bind or something's going on. That's a mistake that I made. I didn't really have a network outside of this. So I was just kind of like, oh shoot, I gotta find friends. I wouldn't recommend that. I recommend always staying networked so that if things do happen, things go south, you can move on and you can find someone else to do the business with. Save all emails. So this is just like to protect yourself, literally. This is something that if you save all the emails, you have a track record of everything that happened. And I think deleting that is a silly thing to do, because then you can't go back or refer to things that maybe you guys said in the past, maybe agreements you made, whatever it is. Save all those emails. That provides all the track record that you have to prove that you're in a partnership. things do happen and go sideways. All right, so I think that's 45. I did this right in time. So I think we get to open this up to questions at this point. Oh, begin with the end in mind. That's so important too. You want to begin with the end in mind. Listen, if this all went to crap, what do we do? So I will open this up to questions now. For anyone that has them. I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi, Garrett. Does anybody have any questions for Garrett? Here we go. We've got one coming in from Rhett. Do you see the Q&A box?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so how do you feel about partnering with your best friends from the past? Well, again, so if it's best friends from the past and they have something to offer the partnership, then partner with them. If it's just your friend and you guys are figuring out the business together and that person doesn't really have any value to add to the business venture you're going on, then what are you doing? You're just literally partnering with somebody that knows as much as you. But if they have something to contribute in those 5 buckets, then yeah, go ahead and partner with them. Any other questions? See, we got 68 people in the room. You guys gotta have some questions about how to partner with people. Or I just did a really good presentation and there's nothing.
Yeah, we'll give everyone just a few more minutes. Maybe we've got some questions coming through now. Get those typed up. There we go.
Do I partner with my own LLC? Yeah, I mean, that's what I did. I have like an LLC that I just own, and that's what goes into every deal. And then I do the books for that LLC. You can do it that way if you like. You don't have to. It's just something that I choose to do. Thanks, Ken. I just did an awesome presentation. I have 3 pages of notes. Great. Let's see. Someone else wrote, how much details you include in the operating agreement? Who drafts? Lawyer. So the operating agreement, you guys got to figure out like who is going to set up the operating agreement. It could be your lawyer. There's typically like a template, and then you can add in what you want in there. Details you can include it's essentially like what you own in the business, what the roles are of the different partners in the business. There's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo in there, but then what the splits are. Everything is in that operating agreement, and you can put anything in it to dictate the rules of that partnership. It could be anything. You could say that one of your partners gets your dog if it could be literally anything. So you want to make sure you go over that legal counsel will be the best way to do that. And I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give you legal advice. Yeah, the lawyer does. There's another question. What would you do differently knowing what you know now when you started regarding partnerships? So what would I have done differently? Okay, so the biggest thing that I would have done differently, having a big failed partnership, is I would have done more on the legal side up front. I think we were just kind of like fast and loose with it, and I would have had more protection and more of an exit plan. I don't think a lot of people, they just go in, they just like, oh, we just feel good about this and this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. But we didn't really have, like, when stuff went sideways, we didn't really have a plan already in place to follow. And so that was the hardest part about it, is we had to like dictate that when we were under a very stressful situation. And then it was a big battle. So that was probably the biggest thing. And what do you recommend, or particularly have a favorite strategy for finding partnerships? The favorite strategy, I mean, there's not really a favorite strategy, but I like going to events and getting to know people. And so I think that that's a lot of fun in general. And if you go there, you go to meetups, go to meet people, and then just start in your head like, hey, you know, maybe if I, let's see what I can bring to a partnership. I'd love to partner with this person. And then you find out what they need and then bring it to them. And maybe it's somebody you really look up to. We had a student bring a deal to us and we partnered with them, and they were like, whoa, all of a sudden I'm in the car with like Michael Blanc and Garrett and Drew, and like out of nowhere, and they were like, shoot, the guy just found what we needed, brought it to us, and we partnered with him. Is it important for a partnership to build and retain capital on its own to grow as a company and self-fund future earnest money, or is it better to pass through and pay out all cash flow immediately to partners? I'm not sure if I follow that question so much. Partner build for the partnership to build and retain capital on its own. So I think what you're asking is like, if you should put money back into the business, and the answer is yeah, I think you should. But if you're setting it up where you're providing investors a return, you need to pay those partners. Now, if it's just an internal thing and you guys all put your own money in, you can decide whether or not you extract the money from the business or not. I think that putting money back into the business, as long as it's not like a bad deal or something like that, that can't hurt. It just makes it probably more valuable over the long run. So, you know, if let's say you got 4 people, you guys all put up the money and you guys all partner, and then you're all doing it for a profit, and you guys decide you're going to put, you know, some money back into it over the money that you're taking. I think that's a good thing to do, because over time you have deferred maintenance happen to the property, and where's that money going to come from later? So it's always a good thing to do that. Let's see. Anybody else? More questions? Somebody said it. Carlos said, hi, Garrett. I saw that podcast. Great. Did you like it? Somebody up top, I didn't answer this one, said, how do you feel about an end of life agreement for the business? So that's like more of a question for your like estate planner, but one thing that you guys got to make sure that you look at is E&O insurance. And what that does is, if you have E&O insurance and something happens to the partnership, you have insurance against the partnership you can pay out on it. So like, let's say you have like 5 partners or something or whatever, and one of the partners passes away, or one of the partners you need to extract, and you have E&O insurance, now you have the capital to be able to buy that partner out of the partnership. E&O insurance is not cheap, but it can be worth it in certain situations, and recommend having that. Okay. Anybody else? Is there a difference between JV and syndication partnership selection and setup? Well, there's typically a syndication. So like, yes, the JV side is on just the general partner side. Okay. So the general partner side is the JV. So like, it's like, let's say it's you and 2 guys, and then you want to JV with someone else, and they have, let's say, 3 partners. So now you have 6 people, and that's all happening on the general partner side to get a big deal done. That's like JV, that's joint venturing. Or maybe you're joint venturing with institutional equity. They're going to bring all the equity, and then they JV with you. That setup is different. The syndication side is like the SEC side, where you need to file everything with Blue Sky, and you need to make sure you have what's called an Exhibit A with all your investors listed on there, so you can submit that. So that is separate. Yeah, that is different. One is just the syndication partnership is more for the LP investors, so limited partners, and then a JV situation is more how you structure a general partnership.